Happy Wednesday, everybody. So today I decided, you know what, I want to start doing these weekly writing vlogs again. So I opened iMovie and I eventually found an entire vlog. I lost my video library and then I reopened again, everything was fine. I think it was just like a minor technical hitch. And then I discovered a vlog and I was like, as I watched, I sort of remembered filming it. And then I went on my YouTube channel and realized, oh, this was never uploaded, and it wasn't even finished. It just came to a halt, and I realized it was September. Like, it started off with Friday the 14th of September, I think, and I was like, holy crap, I didn't, finish this. I didn't share it. And I think part of the reason why I didn't want to share it is I started the weekly writing vlog off with, I'm not going to get any writing done. And I was really beating myself up about it, despite the fact that I had achieved a lot of other things on my list that I had really been struggling with. So it was quite interesting, and and also talk about a few other tools I was using. I talk about the launch of a second edition of a non-fiction book. So I shared it purely because of how I was talking about what I was doing with the launch and the products I was using as I was preparing for the launch, because I still haven't launched Smarter Goal Setting yet. I really want to do it properly. Part of the reason why you're seeing, so that was last week's vlog, and I recorded an update just to give you an update on what had happened since. Part of the reason why I wanted to start up these writing vlogs again is because just purely for accountability and the fact that I get so much more writing and other things done in my business purely because I'm talking to you about it. And there's nothing worse than getting on a vlog and saying, well, I didn't do that. And it's such a powerful motivator for me. And then there's this weird thing where I kind of like, maybe this is a bit sadistic, but I kind of like humiliating myself. I don't know, putting myself out there and failing a little bit. Not that I like it, but I seem to be okay with it, and I don't know, enjoy it. Is that weird? Maybe it's just a weird YouTuber thing. Because I haven't been vlogging a lot, I'm quite scared to vlog in public because I haven't done it in such a long time. I'm not used to the way people look, and people stare and go, oh, she's taking, because most people think, because I use a monopod and it looks like a selfie stick, but it's not, because it's by Manfrotto, which is the tripod that I use, is by Manfrotto as well. And I really like their products because they're quite sturdy. You can really beat someone up with these. I'm in a thriller writer, sorry. So yeah, so I want to start up the writing vlog purely for accountability reasons, and so I can get more done. I really do get more stuff done. My productivity level is it's insane. Yeah, so I want to get back in the habit of sharing the behind the scenes of my journey through this YouTube channel. So on Monday I released my second sort of monthly author update email. I call it a behind the scenes monthly email because I'm super original. And it's just basically, I just talk about what I'm reading, what I'm watching, what's going on in my life, just purely for the sake of people who are interested in reading my books when they launch. So I want to try and create an email list of people who want to read my books before I publish. I started writing Immunity in 2014, and yeah, it's been 4 full years since then. So it's been about 4.5 years since I started writing that, since I first got the idea for that book. And self-publishing has changed so much. I don't think in 2014 you could just put up a book on Amazon and just expect people to find your book. I think people were just starting to use Facebook ads. There was obviously no AMS advertising for authors at the time, but you still had to push your book. It wasn't like the Kindle gold rush or anything. That was like well over by that time. So the landscape has basically changed, and I want to build an author newsletter and an email list of people who want to read my books. And in that, I try to sort of be entertaining. I try and be me. Not that I'm ever not me, but I try and sort of write in the way that I would talk to a friend. So, and that's more just to make a connection with my readers. It's not purely for the sake of sales. It's to add that human element to connecting with people, clients, and, well, it's not clients. in life coaching, when you sell things like services, you do need to be a little bit more personable, and that's where I have gotten this from, is my years of experience life coaching and business coaching. But back to the things I need to do this week. So I need to do my author email. So I did my author email, yay me. What else do I need to do this week? And I also need to record a Ask Me Anything on writing and story structure bonus episode for my podcast. Because you're because you're watching this in the future, that episode has already gone live. So I'll post a link to that episode below. I'm actually considering doing a video version of that. I will let you know how that works out. There will be like if I have created a video version of that, you'll probably see it. You've probably seen it by now, but I will let you know by adding like a subtitle like I've done with all my other vlogs. This goes without saying, but I also need to continue revising Missing and make progress with the second edition of Smarter Goal Setting as well. So those are the other few things I need to do this week. And I also need to finish creating my Patreon page for my podcast, because with my podcast it takes a ton of time, and podcasting isn't easy. It's very time consuming, and it can be difficult. And because I'm a bit of a one person band, I'm the host, I edit, I write the scripts, I create the transcript, I create the blog post. It's a lot of work, and what happens is when I fall behind, it makes it harder for me to stick to my schedule, and sometimes I've fallen weeks behind for many different reasons. And what would actually make that podcast easy for me is if I hired a virtual assistant, which leads me to create a Patreon page, because I hate advertising. I was on Instagram the other day and I scrolled through my feed and there were like 6 ads in a row. Like, they've got no shame. Like, Facebook have no shame. And I'm tired of it. Like, even on YouTube, I skip those ads. If those ads is skippable, I will skip them. And what I hate more than anything else is when you're watching a video and you're really loving it, and then suddenly there's an unskippable ad in the middle of the video. I know people need to make money, but advertising isn't the only way. And it's not even, because you make so little money per view, it's almost not worth it. You need to have a Zoella size audience to actually make money from ads. And actually, she doesn't actually make, the bulk of her income doesn't actually come from ads. It actually comes from all those other things that she does. She's quite an entrepreneur in her own right, but I digress. So since I don't like advertising, even something that's related to my podcast, I'm sort of not okay with slapping it on there. I would rather ask for support and provide bonus things and perks as a reward for supporting the podcast. And I think the fun thing about Patreon is, or is it Patreon? Who knows? But the thing I do like about Patreon is it builds a community around things like podcasting. I've seen a lot of authors on there, musicians. It's basically for creative people. It's like crowdfunding for creative people. I really like the idea behind Patreon, and they actually I've heard people whining about how much money Patreon take, but they actually take very little. They actually only take 5%. And I know it's £1, $1 or $2, so they take 5% of $2 from you. It's not a lot when you sort of look at, the cut KDP take, and all they do is provide you with a marketplace. They don't actually promote your book. They don't take 30%, they only take 5%, which is great. I think that's great. So I'm working on releasing by the end of the month, and obviously I'll have to promote that as well. So I have to find a way that's not completely shameful. Not shameful, but I need to find a way to promote my Patreon page. It doesn't feel like I'm just plugging all of my stuff at the end of my videos. I don't want to be, to me that feels sleazy. Do you know when you watch someone's videos and the first 2 minutes is them talking about their stuff, or it's at the end of their video, and I know it's important to market your stuff, but I want to do it in a way that feels natural, that still adds value, if that makes sense. So hopefully I'll get all the stuff done I need to do this week. Fingers crossed. I don't know why I'm talking in a high-pitched voice, but I just did. By the way, apologies for the lighting, but the sun just keeps coming and going. I actually live in London. I actually live in North London. And the lighting is just ridiculous. The sun is ridiculous. It comes and goes at its own leisure, and for 5 seconds at a time. So my room becomes bright and then it's dark. I should have just closed the blinds like a normal person and just turned on that huge black pole you can see at the back is actually a studio light. Like, this is how lazy I am. I should have just turned it on and, you know, solved all your lighting problems so you don't have to wear sunglasses to watch my vlog. At this point in my writing week, I've actually done I've done the author email, like I said earlier. I've done a lot of editing and filming of vlogs. I've done a lot of preparation with Patreon. I still need to write and record the Ask Me Anything on Writing and Story Structure episode of the podcast. And then I have to edit it. So I've got 1.5 days left and I need to release that over the weekend. It's really important that I stick to the release date. So I'm sort of running out of time. And this week I feel like I haven't done enough work on missing and smarter goal setting. So it looks like I'm going to have to force myself to work over the weekend, even if I don't feel like it. I'm not getting the things that I wanted to done this week, and while I've done some things and it's been amazing, I just can't keep putting writing off because it's never going to get done, and I can't call myself a writer if I'm not writing, ironically. So today I'm in two minds. Do I record my podcast or do I do some writing first and then record? Because I also have to edit, and that'll take 3 to 4 hours possibly from start to finish. That's including listening, playing it back, because usually what I do is I'll edit it and I'll edit and play it back, and then I'll play it back again and I'll export it and upload it. It's this huge mammoth task, and I need to make sure that I actually have time for it, but at the same time I need to work towards updating smarter goal setting and make progress with missing as well, which is really important. In regards to missing, I've reached the halfway point, well, the midpoint of the story. I think I've gone a little bit further, but there has been a bit of a break since I've last revised missing. So before I start revising, I need to figure out what I've done, and I use labels and Scrivener, so it shouldn't be too difficult, and I have a checklist of things that I need to revise, so hopefully I've updated that, and I may have to sort of maybe do a mini read through and figure out what I need to do next. In terms of what I'm actually doing with my revisions of my thriller novella, I've actually been able to revise multiple things at once, like plot, setting, and character thought, like setting description. I originally planned on focusing on plot, like the larger story issues, and then going down to, I guess, the lower level, like looking at scene and then setting and then narration and setting description and character thought, and then looking at characterization, then dialogue, and then right down to a line edit. I expected for the revision phase to last a while, but it turns out it may not actually last as long as what I expected, which is possibly a good. Just like my approach to smarter goal setting, I've decided to take my time with revising and not rush through the publication schedule just because I've been working on this for so long now, and I'm starting to feel like, oh, I just want to do something else. I need to get it right before I hit publish, because I want to create a good book and I want to give my future readers a good reading experience. So I've chosen to take my time, and in the later half of 2019 I plan on doing a rapid release schedule. As I do that, I will obviously share how I'm doing that. I think at the most I'll probably leave 4 weeks between missing and then silence and then immunity and the next book after that. I actually outlined that book, by the way, so I do know what it's called. I just don't want to share it because I think it may change. So obviously in the next clip I'll let you know what I actually decided to do with the rest of my day. It's now 2:45, so I have a good few hours left before Roland gets home. Usually he gets home somewhere between 8 and 9, so I should be able to achieve quite a lot in that time. So hopefully I'll be able to get to the end of the third part of smarter goal setting and figure out where I'm at with missing. So I'll keep you posted. It turns out I did actually get some writing done yesterday. I worked on smarter goal setting and I ended up figuring out where I left off with the missing revisions, and I decided what I was going to do next. I was just going to focus on resolving the plot issues, mainly because, I was a little bit confused about what I had done in the second half of the second act and the third act. So I thought I'm just going to focus on the plot issues and then just focus on one issue at a time because it's so much easier. I think that's because of the break. I think if I'd kept going and I didn't lose momentum, I would have been able to keep up working on a few issues at the same time. But I took a break, so I know not to do that next time. But in terms of the smarter goal setting, I guess it's not really a revision, but the creation of the second edition. I ended up working on two chapters, and they were mainly line edits. So it was about 3,000 words, and I also, at the same time, I'm updating the vellum file just so I can get a look at what it's going to look like. And so I could do a final read through before pushing it off to an editor. I think at this stage, because the book's really set in stone, I think I will just have a line edit and a proofread, just like a basic line edit. And then after I've finished those changes, and then a final proofread. So it actually ended up taking a little longer than what I thought it was going to take, because there was a section in Smarter Goal Setting that I felt needed to be expanded upon, because I created a worksheet to go with that particular section of the book, and it was created after the book was published. So I felt like I needed to flesh out that part a bit more so the worksheet that went with it made a little bit more sense. So I ended up adding like an extra 300 words minus, the line edits. It's sort of weird. It's the more I look at this book, the more I can find things. It's just, I guess that's the nature of the editing phase. Is the more you look at something, the more you can find. So I'm a little bit embarrassed by the first edition now that I've had a closer look, because when I sent it off, I thought it was fine, but it wasn't, obviously, which is why I'm creating a second edition, if that makes sense. And I've also worked out that some of the worksheets actually don't make sense as PDFs. They really need to be spreadsheets or documents where you can fill stuff in. Well, actually, the PDFs are fillable, actually, because I have the Creative Suite on my laptop, which is directly behind me, and I can create forms in there where you just sort of type directly onto the PDF itself. And I think that cost me like £15 a month. I used to use it all the time when I was doing life and business coaching, because I sort of created all these forms and like welcome packs for my clients, and some clients actually went through a specific program where they had they're not really a worksheet, it's like a booklet for them to go through every week to help them achieve a certain thing, because they were coming to me for a specific outcome. It wasn't like life coaching where it was general, and it was a little bit more high maintenance than life coaching, to be honest. So today I have actually decided that I'm going to go all out and film a video version of the Ask Me Anything on Writing and Story Structure bonus episode for the Authorpreneur podcast. But it's now 4 p.m. and I've promised the episode to go live at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 9th of September. So I'm only going to film the video, and then I'm going to pull the audio from the video to create the podcast episode. I'm a little bit nervous. I have to edit the video in order to create the podcast, so I don't have a ton of time, and it sort of means that I think the podcast episode might be late, because I'm actually seeing Captain Marvel tonight with Roland, so I can't be editing in a movie theatre. And he's promised me he's going to come home so we can have dinner before that. I ain't got a lot of time left, because it's now 4 p.m. Awkward. Wish me luck. About an hour ago, I finished filming the video version of the Ask Me Anything on writing and story structure episode, and I've been editing the video for a while. So as I mentioned earlier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the video and extract the audio. But I've just got a message from Roland saying a minute ago he's about to leave the office. So I have roughly, I think, an hour left of editing before I have to go and have dinner and then see Captain Marvel. So I'm running out of time. It means I probably will have to stay up not all night editing so I have time to write over the weekend, because I need to get this up by 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. I think London's about 5 hours ahead, so I'm not 100% sure, but I'll have to double check so I have time, but I just need to finish editing. So last night after I came back from watching Captain Marvel, which by the way I thought it was amazing, I thought it was great. There are a few people trolling the film saying they didn't like it, but I didn't see anything wrong with it. The story was so good, the foreshadowing in the movie was just as great. So I came back from Captain Marvel and I finished... No, I didn't do any editing last night, so I ended up going to bed because it was quite late. And then this morning I finished editing the video. I have now realised that the audio quality on the video just isn't good enough for a podcast. It's okay, it's pretty good for YouTube. Like, it's not spectacular, it's not going to win any awards because I've got an issue with background noise, and when you filter out background noise like like something like GarageBand or something a little bit more sophisticated than that, there's only so much you can do, and the more you do, the more you edit audio, it's almost like the worse it sounds, the more things that you do to it. So it just means I'm going to have to re-record the audio version of last night. I'm not happy. I'm just so... it's frustrating. I've got 6 minutes. There's 6 minutes before I have to release the podcast, and that's not going to happen either. So I'm really annoyed, to say the least. So it's going to be late, and yeah, I really hate it because I'm always late with my podcast. I'm always inconsistent. Like, I promised a date and I couldn't deliver on it, so it's sort of super frustrating. So it's Monday and I was editing last week's vlog and I realized I didn't actually end it. So I left you on Sunday around 2 p.m. realizing that I had to record the podcast audio again. So there's a slight difference between the video and the podcast. Even though they're heavily scripted, I do go off script. Part of the reason, so I didn't end up getting the podcast out on Sunday purely because it takes me about 3 hours to edit and do all of the things surrounding the podcast. So usually I would edit, then I sort of play it back, I export it, upload it to Blueberry, create the show notes, and then if I've gone majorly off script and it's of value and I've kept it in the podcast, I then have to adjust the blog post just for the people who do love to read as they listen along. So I have to do all of that, and that roughly takes around 3 to 4 hours. Because I work from home and Roland doesn't, it's sort of unfair of me to hijack the weekends, which is what I did. So I owe him a fun weekend. So next weekend I can't work, so I have to get everything done this week. There's no more excuses. So I ended up uploading my podcast to Blueberry around 11 a.m. this morning. So it's about 2. It's around 2 now. So that's where I'm at. Part of the problems I was having with the podcast is partly due to the fact that I chose to put it off until the end. I've had this scripted for weeks now. this should have been the first thing I did last week, but I didn't. So I made the wrong choice and I left it to the last minute, and I didn't account on tech failure, because that happens. There's something about when I record on my iPhone, I don't know whether it's a bug, whether it's a software issue, but the audio is terrible. Like, you can't really change the recording volume on an iPhone unless I pay for some type of app, but it was a nightmare. I used to record videos for my podcast and then extract the audio. I would edit the audio quite heavily and it would actually sound great. But because I've now started using this little microphone here, which is the Blue Yeti, my podcast does sound a little more professional. And I was listening to it and it just sounded ridiculous. I couldn't, in good conscience, put this out as a podcast. It was just atrocious. It sounds okay as a video because you've got the visual elements and there is stuff I can do. It just sounds so different in iMovie for some reason. I don't know why. It just sounded ridiculous. I could be being super picky about how it sounds, but I just wasn't happy. I've got, as you can see here now, I've got major background issues with the audio because I'm living along a quite a busy main road, so I have to figure out how to edit the vlogs now so I can edit out the background noise. But it may mean I need to learn how to use different software. But back to the podcast. So I eventually did get it out. It was not on time and I'm not happy with myself about that. But that's on me. So last week was a disaster. I had a title for that vlog because I was expecting to get all of these things done and to talk about these things, but it didn't work out that way. So now I've got to find a new title for the vlog so it makes sense. So yeah, wish me luck.